Hey everybody. Um, got the Tyt Md2017. So just wanted to give my review of it, show you what it's like, show you what the CPS is like. If you've had any Tyt product like the MD380 or the MD390, it's pretty much the same. The only difference is the MD2017 is dual band. So you have to program for VHF and UHF. So if you had one or the other, now you got both. So if you live somewhere where you have VHF and UHF DMR repeaters, it's awesome. If not, you just UHF like most of North Carolina. You can put all your VHF analog repeaters in there. So this is the screen. Like I said, if you have an MD380, 390, it's pretty much the same. Radio name, your DMR ID, all the settings as far as battery and whether you want channel or frequency. I run mine in channel mode. I know most people like frequency, but it's up to you. Menu items, you can choose what's visible in your menu. Button definitions. You'll see in my video in a few minutes, I'll show you the actual buttons on the side of the radio, but pretty configurable. I know one complaint a lot of people have had about this radio was the trackball. So the good news is if you're looking at it, you can program the programmable keys to take care of most of that, if not all of it. Text messaging, I'll have to admit, I really haven't done any text messaging on DMR yet, but that's what it is. Digital contacts, I don't have anything programmed yet, just like every other DMR radio that has a CPS that kind of looks like a Motorola CPS. Call groups or monitor groups, this is what most everybody does here. Your zones, your scan list, your channel information, and VFO mode. And if you get the MD2017 GPS version, it does have where you can set up GPS. So let me load my code plug. Show you how I kind of set mine up. And I named mine Florida Trip because we're going to Florida in September, and I'm actually going to Denver next week, so I've got a lot of stuff programmed in here. So first off, my digital contacts. In here is nothing but talk groups. That is because with the MD2017 latest firmware, you can use where normally your recordings are stored as CSV contacts upload. I'll show you how to do that in here too. But so in here is nothing but talk groups. All of my DMR contacts for people reside in another location. So nothing but talk groups. You'll probably see some of the same ones you have, but they're not named the same. It's just what works with the code plugs I used. This is kind of a mash of the North Carolina NCPRN code plug, First Coast DMR code plug because I'm going to Florida like I said, and some of the Denver, Colorado code plug so I could have everything I needed. But it works pretty well. You can use MD380 code plugs in here. Once you use it though, it says it can't be used on a MD380 radio anymore. I think it's just a permission issue and what it affiliates with, but so just make a copy. But what I did to get most of the channels and contacts in here was just export it out, pushed it into an Excel, and merged them together and cleaned up the call IDs on it so that the channel would be looking for the correct call ID. So that's my channel list. My monitor groups and the group calls And here's my zones. Now I did this a little bit different probably than everybody else, and it looks kind of traditional for probably your MD380, and I came from a CS750 where each zone was for each different repeater. I kind of kept it that way except for my home. Open that up. So this is the one thing that is different on the MD2017 because it is dual band. Channel A, and if you're looking at the radio, when I show the radio in a minute, is your UHF band, and channel B is your VHF band. So if it's a DMR UHF, it would all go in here, all your UHF analog, and then if you have VHF DMR over here, and all your VHF analog. So what I did with my home zone was I've got my DV4 Mini. Actually, it's a borrowed DV4 Mini, so thanks to my friend that let me borrow that. I've got my DV4 Mini, and then my closest DMR repeater, and the talk groups that they have on that repeater. So as you can see, it's PRN in North Carolina. And then I have all of the closest UHF repeaters, including Sarah Digital Simplex. Then over here, same thing. I have my close VHF repeaters that I use normally. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's just like the 380, 390, even the CS750. It's very similar. You go to your available channels, pick which one you want. I probably got one floating here that hasn't been added that needs to. And then click add, highlight it, click add, and it'll drop it over in that channel. And it is dependent. If you want a certain one first, select it and then click add to have it at the top of the list, because contact manager that a lot of us use for MD380, CS750, the CS products, isn't out for this yet. I think I looked at their website and it was going to be like September, October before they even evaluated it. So just make sure, place it in order how you want it to work. I'm on my DV4 Mini at home, so it's always first. That way I can just scroll to the right and go to my local DMR repeater. So that's that. And as you can see, I've got it separated out. And what I did is I went through, and for all these different areas where there's a DMR repeater, I went in and added analog repeaters that I also have programmed in with that. Now, that's a slow process. I haven't done it for all of the PRN code plug, but I'm working on it. I have some, just because, like I said, I'm going to Florida, so I've programmed analog repeaters on the way. So I've got a lot for traveling down 95. So that's that. Also, one other one I put in here is, this is the First Coast DMR code plug I borrowed from so I could get all the channels in. So same thing. I tended to group them together. I know they had a lot of them separated into separate zones for like Kingsland 1 and Kingsland 2, but I just put it all together in one zone. I figured that's the way I would use it most. And then I did create some separate zones for like specialty stuff, like the Carolina 440 network. Well, this is wide area repeaters, so these are all the wide area repeaters in North Carolina. And then 440 network, which is a linked 440 system in North Carolina. I've got them separate in case I just want to use them. And then I've got some stuff for Denver. And this is actually a little bit older one. I've added some more Colorado repeaters in there. But as you can see, I also added some analog repeaters. Let me close that. The channel setup is pretty much the same as the MD380, and CS750 was exactly the same as what I had. Digital analog, what do you want to call it, your frequencies, and choose your contacts and repeater slots. So nothing really strange or out of place there. I'm looking for my DV4 Mini. So there's my DV4 Mini. BM local channel Talk Group 9. That's just what it's called in my code plug. But you see how it's set up. Nothing really different. I'll show you an analog just to show you the difference. So with analog, it just opens up your analog data screen here at the bottom, so you can put in tones and for all your repeaters. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. Create scan list the same way. Create it in scan list and then attach the talk group or channel to it here. But that's pretty much the CPS. Like I said, the only thing different is the way zones are done. So I would recommend, if you have like a home zone, don't have to call it that, but I would put your closest DMR repeater and all your analog in that DV4 Mini. That way you really don't have to switch out of it, because zone switching is, I guess cumbersome is the best word. It's not hard, but it's just a little bit cumbersome. So with that, let's switch to a view of the radio and I'll show you what this setup looks like on the radio. Okay, so this is the MD2017. I'm sure you've all seen it by now. Comes with the belt clip, comes with a programming cable. I will say that the first programming cable I got was dead on arrival, but the company I bought it from was awesome about replacing it. So that worked out well. New one I got is fine. It just looked like there was a short in the when they made the cable. They took a little too much cover off the wires and they were shorting out against each other. So just be aware of that. But the antenna, I've seen a lot of complaints about the antenna. The gain's not enough on it, but it seems to work pretty well for me for where I'm at. I have tried. I do have a backup. I've got a Jetstream, but like other videos, other reviews have said, the stem, let's see if I can get it to focus, is a little bit longer than it should be, and because of the washer or the way the antenna fits to make this meet the waterproof spec, it fits down in there. So if you use an aftermarket, it'll sit a little high and you'll see this exposed, which I guess was leaving a chance of breaking it off, and people actually had it break it off. So if you're going to use an aftermarket antenna, follow everybody else's advice. Get the rubber washer grommet to fit in there. Put that back on. As far as your programmable buttons, the orange, which in public safety world is the emergency button, is programmable. Your top side button and side button 1, 2, and 3 are programmable, and then P1 and P2 are programmable. And then you can set, I guess if they allow private call, you can set your keypad for one button dial for. So let's turn it on. So everybody talked about the trackball. That's the infamous trackball, whether you like it or not. I've gotten used to it, so I like it. I can move pretty smoothly with it. So you can move it to move through your zone and move to your UHF side. So like I said, that's my DV4 Mini. And same thing, you can move forwards or backwards. Get the color correct so you see what the screen really looks like. So I think you can have 64 talk groups or channels per side. So it'll hold a lot in one zone. I've just got it set up the way it works for me. Also, whichever zone selected, you can use your side buttons to move through your talk groups. So if you don't like the trackball, you can lock it and just use your keys. So you can also set up these to move through. The one thing I don't like about it is you can't program anything for zone up or zone down. It just has zone change, which is that one, and it just goes down a zone. So that's a little, I wish I had the ability to do zone up and down. And if you don't want to use that, this is how you have to change zone. Just go to your menus, zone list, select, and it switches zones. So this one I have set for power. So of course, since I'm on DV4 Mini, I really don't need a whole lot of power. But if I wanted to, I can change it. But I pretty much have all of my DV4 Mini set for low, everything set for high. It does have a low, medium, high. I think it's 1 watt, 2 watts, and 5 watts. And of course, the symbol means digital. If it's analog, it just shows plus or minus depending on deviation. So switch that back to low. So once again, if I want to switch zones, I can use that, or I can go here. Choose zone list, choose that, and you can see I actually can add channels. So if you put a channel in your radio and you didn't add it to a zone, you can add it from the front panel. You can program for the front panel. When I originally got the radio and having problems with the cable, I tried to program my DV4 Mini from the front panel, but it was having problems with the color code and the time slot. So I really haven't tried it since. Once I got a new cable, I just programmed it that way. And once you do the firmware upgrade and you want to do CSV contacts, utilities, radio settings, and contact CSV. And what this is, once in the software you import the CSV contacts, it'll hold 100,000. So with DMARC currently at 68 some thousand, you can basically import everybody worldwide, which is pretty cool. And it works really well. Let me switch to a talk group on my DV4 Mini that's busy. And my phone's dead. So that's what the CSV contacts looks like. Just basically import download, do the data dump from DMR Mark, and as a CSV. Cleaned it up a little bit. It had some extra stuff like portable and all that in there. So I took some of that out just so it shows the call sign name and location. But it works really well. I like it. So if you have any questions, you set yours up a little bit different, comment below, and maybe we can learn something. Thanks.